Bienvenidas, bienvenidos. The greatest cache of documents ever released was released on a platform called WikiLeaks. The ability to get sources and documents to the public, to the world, going around mainstream media was revolutionary. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about freedom, finally, for Julian Assange. But first, this is Latina Literati. In 2010, WikiLeaks released millions of documents that included military documents, including videos that showed U.S. military personnel purposefully, knowingly killing civilians in Iraq, as well as thousands of U.S. embassy diplomatic cables, which showed the U.S. was spying on everyone, allies and non-allies alike. Eventually, the WikiLeaks documents would also show that everyone was being spied on internationally and also nationally. In other words, you and I. What does that mean? This case truly at its core is a First Amendment case. You have the freedom from interference, you have the freedom of press, and you have the right to privacy. And so these are the two kernels of values, of truth, of constitutional argument that are at the core of this case. The repercussions of WikiLeaks releasing documents continue to have a ripple effect on all our lives. An example is, in 2016, WikiLeaks released Russian-hacked documents which undermined the Democratic presidential candidate. So we ended up with another person occupying the White House. These are just examples of how so much information getting out to the public changed history. There have been, in places like Burma and Cambodia and Iran and all sorts of places around the world, where these cables have shown human rights abuses and atrocities, and changes have been made. So there's a lot of impact that this information has had when it got out, and it came out like a tornado. Obviously, a leak site or platform where contributors are anonymous is a dream come true for information operatives. So all of a sudden, you have this huge onslaught of hacking, of leaking, some of it true, some of it misinformation or disinformation. And we now know that every military campaign includes a disinformation aspect to it that our tax dollars pay for. In other words, we are paying to be lied to. Again, WikiLeaks and Julian Assange ripped the mask off any illusion of truth in any aspect of what we were being told about different illegal wars abroad, about illegal human rights abuses, whether it be in Guantanamo or black sites that are not official, where torture takes place in our name, paid for by our tax dollars. These are really, really important issues, and people around the world understood how important it was, because when Julian Assange is charged with trumped-up charges, first by the Swedish government, then by the UK government, he seeks asylum for political prosecution in the Ecuadorian embassy in 2012. And there he spends 5 years. It was later exposed that guards in the embassy were actually CIA operatives that were spying on Julian and his attorneys. When they say truth is stranger than fiction, this is an example. As we all know, embassies are considered the sacrosanct soil of that country. The Ecuadorian embassy in London is considered a piece of Ecuador. So for you to send in CIA operatives to act as guards to spy on their asylum seeker that is being protected and his attorney flies in the face of so many laws on the international level, and of course US laws that have communications absolutely privileged between client and attorney. In 2019, the British government goes into the Ecuadorian embassy, drags Julian out, and says, you broke the UK Bail Act because of the trumped-up charges. We're sending you to the worst prison we have, Bail Marsh Prison, and we're putting you in solitary confinement, which under international principles is a form of torture. And the US unseals an extradition request based on the information received from Chelsea Manning, who was a US member of the armed forces who gave information to WikiLeaks that then was released showing the abuses of US troops in Iraq. And the US charges Julian Assange in absentia, in other words, he's in England, in the US, with the Espionage Act. Now, the Espionage Act is a very dangerous act. It's a 1917 law, which says it's against the law to interfere with military campaigns or recruitment for military campaigns. If that is not ambiguous, I don't know what is. It has been upheld by all sorts of courts, but the important thing is here, it is being used for the first time against a journalist. Never before happened. You'll recall the Pentagon Papers? There was a ruling in the Pentagon Papers, it was called the New York Times ruling, that said it was so important to get this information out that freedom of press should prevail. Now that has been the gold standard for, 50 years, 60 years. Now all of a sudden you have this Espionage Act being used, chilling effect everywhere, saying if we deem the information to somehow interfere, then you can go to jail forever. Crazy, crazy law, terrible application, completely illegal. Again, my humble perspective, the freedom of the press and all. So that's what the US uses to charge Assange under the administration of the Trompudo. So what happens? You have not hundreds, not thousands, you have millions of people coming together demanding his release. And I don't think the current administration wanted their legacy to be the guys that couldn't handle this. And so they basically, in a very Solomonic manner, cut the baby in half and said, we're not going to do away with the case, but we will let you plea bargain to one count of espionage, whatever that means, in the Mariana Islands, which is in Saipan, which is in the Pacific, very close to Australia. So Julian is flown from the United Kingdom, from London to Saipan, where he is presented before a federal judge, and the judge seemed quite compassionate and said, may you now find peace in your life, and basically gave Julian credit for time served. And from there, he flew on to Canberra, the capital of Australia, where he's reunited with his wife and family. Just an amazing ending to this terrible trial and tribulation of someone that has received many awards, has been recognized as one of the most important journalists of our lifetime because of the amount, a quantity of information that was able to be shared with the world and that made real changes in the world. It let us know what our government is doing and what other governments are doing. And it's not pretty. But Julian, we wish you a very, very happy homecoming, and all people around the world who believe in free speech, in the freedom of the press, and the right to express ourselves, and the right to know the truth, the right to know what it is we are paying for when we pay our taxes. We thank you, and we wish you all the best at home in Australia. Also, shout out to the Australian government. Albanese, the Prime Minister, was amazing and very interesting. Both the majority and the opposition parties came together to push in every single meeting with the US government saying, we want Assange home. We want Assange home. Drop this case. And I don't think that the Justice Department understood how things had changed in Australia. There had been, different war crimes cases. Australia had changed as a country, and of course, now had a Labor government that said, enough is enough. We want our citizen home. This is bullocks, as they say. In any case, now on to my favorite part of the video, the book recommendations. The first book recommendation is, of course, Julian Assange, The Unauthorized Autobiography, because you have to know the man in order to understand the mission and to get a background of his life and what brought him to be at the center of this storm, of this political storm. You have to understand that he was, for example, a member of the hacker community in Australia for a time. So he understood the technology needed to get past all of the different securities to get the information out to the public. So good read, definitely recommend it. And if you want to know more about Julian, read this book. As always, check with your library, your local booksellers. They're out there to help you and serve you. We want to support our local libraries. We want to support our local booksellers. And we always leave links to independent booksellers in the description box in case you'd like to purchase these books, new or used, as you see fit. The second book is called WikiLeaks. So this is a history of that platform. There are other platforms that have taken its place since its demise, and you can look those up, but fascinating that this is the opening of Pandora's box. You cannot unseal once opened Pandora's box in terms of the hacking and the leaks and the sharing. Of course, the issue is then now how do you synthesize what is real and what is not, especially now with the advent of AI. Not an easy topic, but it's important that we understand the issues that all of this gave rise to and what we need to do to protect ourselves from all of this misinformation. As always, thank you so much for coming to the end of the video with me. This is a community. We love to hear from you. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know what you think about Julian and WikiLeaks and everything that has happened this week. Historic week. There's celebrations all over. Very exciting. And I'm happy to try and share a little bit of the highlights with you. We would love you to subscribe to Latina Literati. Thank you so much always for your support. Con mucho cariño, mucho salud, mucho amor. Gracias.